speed.
Gil, I could well understand why you would want to do a movie of Buck Rogers. I reviewed that film and I liked it a bunch in spite of the fact that I wasn't sure it was the kind of movie I would enjoy. But then when we get to talking about a TV series and the mass exposure of a character like Buck Rogers, the thought comes to me is it must have to you, you know, do you really want to do this kind of character week after week and get so locked into it? Was that a concern of yours?
Well, yeah, it was. As a matter of fact, I was asked about it, and I said, you know, I don't mind doing the movie, but I almost hope it doesn't go to series because I know I'll be known as Buck Rogers. It went to series, and now I have to deal with that. Actually, I think that I will make the best of it because I have my own production company and I have projects that I'm interested in, and I think people will identify with me as well as Buck Rogers. And there's not really much you can do about it. When you do a television series, you really, since you come into a person's home on a weekly basis, they really identify with you as the character and that you portray. All I can hope is that the people will accept me as Gil Gerard when I do something else, and will come and see it, and will judge that on its own merits. That's a very small negative in a way when you think about it, to say I'm known as Buck Rogers, because I'm also becoming more visible to the American public, and I'm becoming more known to them. And it helps me as a producer, and it helps me as an actor, as a star, or whatever, to package things that I'm interested in doing, and it helps me to present them to the public as well.
I think you have one of the most interesting stories about how you were discovered, as it were. There you were, a cab driver in New York. A gentleman gets into your cab and suddenly takes an interest in you and gets you connected with the love story as an extra. Gil, do you ever stop to think that had that not happened, had that man never gotten into your cab, do you ever stop to think where you might be today?
I'd probably be pretty much where I am.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I always felt that I would make it as an actor, and I think what he did was he saved me a lot of time. He gave me a tremendous amount of help. He saved me about 10 years, I think, of kicking around and searching and trying to make it. But I think I would be right where I am.
Of course, a lot of people are looking at you and saying he looks like, was he on the Doctors?
Yes.
And you were. Do you still get recognized from that?
Yes, amazingly enough. It's been 3 years since I've been on the show, and generally everywhere I go, someone recognizes me from the Doctors, and they remember the character. They remember the relationships and all that stuff within the show. It's amazing. Usually they say that after 2 years, and when you leave a soap, in 2 years people forget pretty well who you were. But I think it was at the time when that show was at the peak of its popularity, and a tremendous number of people watched it, and I think they were very interested in the character.
Gil, Battlestar Galactica did not make it, and people will now want to draw comparisons between that and Buck Rogers. What about Buck Rogers do you think gives it an edge and gives it a chance for success that Battlestar Galactica did not have?
Well, I think that the advantage that Buck Rogers has is that it has one central character that the public will either accept or reject. I mean, that's the chance you take, but it does have one character that if the public does like, they will come back and see week after week. They want to see what Buck is doing. I think one of the major disadvantages with Battlestar Galactica was that they had too many people. They spread the interest out so thin that no one character was on enough to draw the attention of the audience so that they were interested enough to come back and see them next week. Then they fell into a problem with plot lines becoming confusing, and they locked themselves into a central foe who was on every week, and a tremendous amount of hardware. With Buck Rogers, as I said, you have one central character. We intend to, of course, have some of the hardware, or the special effects as they call it, because it's popular. People like it. In addition to that, we intend to have a little more in-depth characterizations and a little more interpersonal relationships going on, so that people will begin to care about the people in the show and will want to watch them week after week. At least we hope so.
Gil, one last question. I see in you, as I have observed you, on screen and off, a certain Burt Reynolds quality. Do you object to my comparing you with Burt Reynolds?
Oh, no. I don't object at all to being compared to the #1 box office star in the world. That's terrific. You know, I have a great deal of respect for Burt's talent. I think he is highly underrated as an actor. I think people don't take him seriously simply because he has such a flair for comedy, and he has such a good comedic sense and a good sense of humor about things. But I think that eventually he will become more recognized as an actor, as the actor he is. So I consider that a compliment. Thank you.
And maybe there will be a day when they'll say, Burt Reynolds reminds me of Gil Gerard, too.
Well, maybe that, or maybe there will be another young upcoming star and someone will say, do you know you remind me of Gil Gerard? Do you mind?
Gil, it's been a pleasure.
It
Good
has.
luck
I've enjoyed
with
it.
Buck Rogers.
Thank you very much.
Cut.